Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts. Hello Canadian MJ friends, and we're going to talk to US MJ friends a bit as well today. So checking in on the market and just showing correlations right now, because as we know, SPY is incredibly important. Right now, the most important thing for the Canadian MJ space is the trade deal between China and the US. I know it sounds odd, but that's the way correlations work. This is SPY with CGC underlaid, and you can see the daily time frame is absolutely directly correlated, almost tick for tick, ever since mid-October. So we have a month of absolute direct correlation on what these two charts are doing. We are patiently waiting for SPY to give us signals of a daily high or low. Today, news came out that China and the US were having trade talk deals, looking for potential progress into the G20's summit that's upcoming. That led to a complete turnaround, rocket to a new high of the day. Then we had news come out that we're still going forward with the China tariffs in January, 25%. That led to a quick dump, but we ended the day with bull momentum, and that is giving us our daily high or low, it looks like. So I'll do the SPY video, of course, on its own, which I suggest you absolutely should be watching, with our low, high of the bounce. Now we're looking for our daily high or low. We're then going to look for a daily lower high heading into next week and to start next week, and we're going to look for an equilibrium and tightening range to break before the end of November to give us some good clarity on short-term direction. So that's the current setup. CGC is following it significantly as well. And I want to talk a little bit about my bearish overtone in yesterday's video because it was misinterpreted by the comments, and I appreciate those comments so I can help clarify myself in terms of what I mean and how it's interpreted. So on these daily time frames, the sooner the bulls form a higher low on this daily chart of consolidation, the better the odds of continuation. If they form the higher low after a couple days, there's the potential of a bull flag. If it takes longer, then we look for the equilibrium. And if we drop all the way back, it's going to favor the bears more because we're so far away from that resistance. So with the Canadian MJ space, we have a mixed bag of how individual names have responded to this current consolidation. We have names like Kron as the ideal scenario for all of these bulls. And I don't like these yellow lines. Let's change that to some white lines. But what we're looking at is the low of the dump, high of the bounce. So that's our range established. Higher low formed yesterday, and we got the follow through confirming our higher low has been established. Lower highs every day, 5 days in a row. As soon as we break 823 today, that's the signal. All right, our daily higher low is clearly established now at 752, and the bulls are heading back up. So where we stand, 995 is very clear resistance. We're still going to anticipate a lower high form on the daily chart and a tightening range as well. But let's see where we stand right now in terms of percentages from the high of today to where the bulls need to get for a bull break to a daily trend change. And we're talking about 9%. And I'm doing this by holding down shift and clicking the ranges that I want to look at. So about 9-10% for the bulls to make their way from the high of today back to the daily resistance. Then you look at a name like CGC, and obviously with the bearish reaction to earnings, we dropped right down to support. So the higher low is here compared to 3182, but in terms of where the bulls need to go from the high of today back to resistance, we're talking 27%. So Kron right now is positioned so much better on the daily time frame because it is literally less than 50% of what has to happen for a bull break compared to what CGC has to see happen. So again, CGC needs 26% from the high of today to get a bull break on the daily, whereas Kron needs 10%. So we have a daily inside bar to be watching on CGC. There were a lot of nice bottom fishing setups this morning, first thing for the bulls to make entries on. And that's when the low of yesterday can hold. Every single day on a lot of these names, we've been seeing lower lows the vast majority of the time. So as soon as we form a higher low and hold the low of yesterday, that's when the bulls started to set their sights on forming these daily higher lows. I'm still not convinced that CGC has formed its daily higher low yet because it gave us an inside bar. We need to break the lower high pattern, lower highs 6 days in a row. Bulls need to show up tomorrow and break 36.90 for our bounce for us to say, all right, our daily higher low has formed, and now we're going to look for a lower high in the low $40 range. And again, just looking at this chart on the daily time frame, it's very clear that SPY is going to dictate what the Canadian MJ space does right now. And if SPY turns around, because we're never going to have a China deal, news comes out, certainly don't expect that, but if that were to happen, that's going to completely shift these setups. So we have to be watching what SPY is doing, and we have to be watching what Apple is doing as well. So let's look at these other names. We've got CGC and Cron out of the way now. ACB daily time frame, higher low is now formed. This was a really nice bottom fishing play. Low of yesterday broke by 1 penny. We're calling that a double bottom. And the bulls showed up right after that level was hit. So first thing this morning, we come down 792, and then we hit a new high of the day. That's a double bottom and bull breaks out of a bunch of resistance levels, 822, 831. All these resistance levels from yesterday afternoon broke in the first 10 minutes of trading after holding a double bottom. That's very convincing to get in bullish and put your stop loss below that double low. So the daily time frame now has given us our higher low. We are now looking for a daily lower high to form compared to 1065. And we are looking at our, how high do we need to go? Or I should say, how much further do we have to go to get to that resistance? 17%. So it sits in the middle of the road compared to Cron. Cron needs to see less. CGC needs to see more. ACB in the middle in terms of the amount of upside needed to get to that resistance. Again, still anticipating a daily lower high is more likely to form and to give us a tightening range into mid to late next week. APHA can't form a daily high or low, and that's because we already broke. We can call that a double bottom though. 1237, 1226. It's clearly the weakest name, but we have a bounce underway. Daily lower highs 6 days or 5 days in a row have broken. So our daily support level is established. And now we're going to be looking at how much distance for the bulls to make up that resistance. And I'm looking at the high of today and all the way back up, 28%, even weaker than CGC. In the same boat, APHA and CGC have the most work to do to get their way back to that resistance. And in terms of short-term supports, I'll go through TLRY and then we'll go back and zoom into the hourly time frame on these names. So TLRY, another bottom fishing play. And let's see APHA, bottom fishing play. First thing this morning, 5-minute time frame. Low of yesterday, 1226. We hit 1241, broke all the resistances in the first 5 minutes. Bulls controlled the rest of the day. TLRY, low of the day of yesterday, held by $1.50. And then bulls showed up significantly. So we have our low. Got to clear out some of these lines, but we got our low of the dump, high of the bounce. Higher low is now formed at $99. And we're going to look for a lower high compared to 142.84 and a tightening range into a couple weeks from now. And this is the setup that we've been looking for a long time. It just took longer than we anticipated for the daily higher low to form because SPY kept struggling as Apple kept struggling. So we're going to be looking for TLRY to set that lower high. Distance that the bulls have to make their way up to 24%. So it's in line with CGC and APHA in terms of distance. So closest to resistance, to furthest to resistance, it goes Cron, which we pointed out yesterday was the healthiest name in terms of the amount of consolidation on the daily. Then we got ACB, and then the other three are in their own group in terms of the most work for the bulls to do. So from here, we can zoom into the hourly time frame, and what is the first indication that our daily lower highs are going to be set? And the answer is a loss of our hourly uptrends. So we look at the hourly uptrends on Cron. Bulls really want to maintain 842 support. That's going to be a key level. And we have a clear equilibrium into the end of the day today. So I'd be watching the Cron 15-minute time frame. 891 and 842 is the range. We formed a lower high and a higher low. So the tighter range is 846 to 884. I would be watching this 15-minute pattern tomorrow. If we break bearish first thing, that's a red flag that this bounce does not have follow through. If we break bullish, we're going to look for continuation and still be patiently waiting for our daily lower high to be set. ACB, 15-minute time frame, end of the day, got a bull break. So the hourly chart has a higher low. And actually, we don't have a very clear higher low established right now because every candlestick has been a higher low. So I would look to the 15-minute time frame for ACB support as well. It's 868, 859, and 856 as three key support levels that the bulls want to maintain and break those levels first thing tomorrow. SPY after hours right now is testing the high of the day. Bulls would love a higher open on SPY. And the correlation to SPY is less important pre-market, and it's more important after the bell rings. Keep that in mind as well. That's why we have some days, SPY can be green and Canadian MJ can be red, but they can still be significantly correlated after the bell rings. So that discrepancy between them can oftentimes occur in extended hours action. APHA looking short term, 15-minute time frame. Also got a bull break at the end of the day. Support we're looking at 1335, 1316, and 1313. So we have clear 15-minute higher lows across the sector, and that's what we're watching into tomorrow first thing. TLRY weakness at the end of the day. High, low, lower, high. Equilibrium setup, but the bulls really want to hold 106.52. So the bottom line is we need follow through tomorrow. We need to break the high of today to be looking for continuation, and then our daily lower highs to be formed and a tightening range. If I were all cash right now, which I currently am, I didn't trade Canadian MJ today. I was out and about doing things. But if I were all cash, I would patiently be waiting. If I weren't a day trader, that is, I would be patiently waiting for these daily equilibriums to give us a clear break, because I know that the most likely scenario is just a daily lower high and tightening ranges. So I would be patiently watching into next week for breaks of these daily ranges to give some short-term clarity. USMJ names, IIPR, we pointed out on this bull break of 42.01. And again, I have not traded IIPR, but certainly was a great opportunity. The bull break occurred. We had a daily bull flag of healthy consolidation and then beautiful continuation. And just like that, IIPR is looking at the all-time high. And you might be saying, well, how is that happening? It's not correlated with the rest of the MJ sector. There's multiple reasons for that. Number one, it's an REIT, and that is a potential hedge against market weakness. Market flocks to REITs in market weakness and uncertainty because they issue dividends, and that's guaranteed money, and people like guaranteed money in uncertain times. So that's one of the reasons that in this market weakness, IIPR has been outperforming its peers in the Canadian MJ space. So keep an eye on IIPR. If we cannot break 49.74, we're going to look for a weekly lower high and then a pullback and a higher low and a weekly equilibrium. But the bulls are going to make a shot at that all-time high after a pretty decent close here. So worth watching. A little bit extended in the short term, so I would not be surprised to see an inability to break 49.74 and need to see daily consolidation. 43.10 was our last daily higher low. Other names to be watching. MMNFF closed at the low of the day today. 431 is a key support to be tested tomorrow. But look at this equilibrium setup. We're looking for our daily higher low that has not formed yet. It's a bit of a different setup than Canadian MJ because the daily higher low has not formed yet. But it's a nice bottom fishing play where if we get down close to 420 support, we can put a stop level below 420 and look for this oversold bounce to get going. The 4-hour RSI is screwed up because of these flukes on these charts. So that's a bit frustrating. But we have clear price levels to be watching, and we are going to be looking for 420 support to hold tomorrow as a potential low risk entry. Let's say it gets down to 430 and I make an entry. I'm risking maybe 11 cents by the time I would get stopped out on a 420 break. And if that does form the daily higher low, the reward aspect of things would be, much more than that 11-cent risk. And KSHB is one to be watching as well. Same thing. We're looking for the daily equilibrium to tighten up, and we're looking for a higher low to form. Significant bullish reversal candlestick. Only thing missing is volume, but we need to see the bulls break 530 and 534 to give us the clear signal our daily higher low has been established. And then we're going to look for a daily lower high, just like we're looking for Canadian MJ on this bounce. So keep an eye on the USMJ names as well. NBEV had a really strong response to its earnings report, but still a lot of work to do for the daily time frame. Anything under 540 is just a lower high. But compared to yesterday, we saw a 23% gain today on NBEV. So nice follow through there. But it's worth, checking in on all these USMJ names. The tighter the time frames, the tighter the daily charts, the better. Here's TRUL. Well, this is actually TCNNF. But we've got our high, low of the pullback, lower high, higher low very clearly established now, down at 1020. That was a bottom fishing play with 981 support. And now we're going to look for a lower high compared to 1446. Equilibriums everywhere. I love equilibriums because they give me clarity. And once we get that break, you can either play within the equilibrium if you're comfortable with them, or you patiently wait for the daily equilibriums to break. So we'll continue to check in on these equilibriums moving forward. Bottom line, tomorrow, bulls need to see follow through and need to get continuation, because if names like CGC do not break the inside bar bullish and see follow through, we could get a bear break. So we obviously want to avoid that. So nice oversold hourly bounces today. Bulls need more to be comfortable within these daily tightening patterns. Bears still have the upper hand until we make our way back to the midway point of this range, like some names have already done. Cron has already done that. So Cron bulls are a lot more comfortable, and we'll take it one day at a time. Hope that was helpful. We'll check back in tomorrow, and hope you have a good rest of your day. Do good things. Nerdbird.